What's going on, everybody? Off the Mike Sports Network here, and in college football, we have spent a lot of time talking about, obviously, the college football playoff, and those final rankings will come out Sunday. And a really fascinating scenario and debate could play out between Miami and Notre Dame, which has really dominated this whole thing. We obviously talked about Lane Kiffin and his departure. One opening that we have not talked about that has kind of just flown by the wayside, fired their coach in October. Incidentally enough, the coach that they fired, this university, has been hired by another university, already has put together a recruiting class. And honestly, I would venture to say that they're going to potentially be one of the favorites in the ACC next year. It's James Franklin. So what I'm talking about is Penn State. Penn State, and I don't know how many Penn State fans that I have subscribed to the channel. I know a lot of Penn Staters who I've come across in my professional life, in my personal life. Um, I know a lot of people who love that university, and I know what proud tradition there is there. What Penn State University has done in the last 2 months in regards to firing James Franklin as their head coach, which was completely justified after 3 straight losses, and a really disappointing season after they started it ranked number 2 in the country and seemingly on a path. It was a championship or bust season. They bailed on James Franklin and paid him $40+ million to go away, and then the offsite language minimized the buyout because that's just the way things work. But what Pat Kraft, the athletic director, and this department, and the boosters and everybody there, they have proceeded to conduct the worst head coaching search that I've ever seen in all my years of watching coach searches, whether that be at any level of college or pro, whatever, because they completely miscalculated every aspect of this thing. They were like, "Hey, we're Penn State. We've had a guy for 12 years. He failed us. Let's move on." They also didn't calculate the fact that, like, literally, like a quarter of the freaking SEC was going to be vacant, and jobs like LSU were going to be open up, and Florida were going to be open up. So a lot of the good candidates were not going to want. Penn State was not going to factor in. So that's one thing. Their obvious first target was Curt Cignetti, the Indiana head coach. He didn't want to go there. Matt Rule, an alum. So 2 guys within the league in the Big Ten didn't go after them. From then on, we have not heard a lot about Penn State. We've heard some very unsubstantiated rumors about Kalen DeBoer, the Alabama head coach, but he's playing for an SEC title. If they lose, maybe that's who they go. At this point, that is about the only thing that is saving this search from being an unmitigated disaster. And even at that point, this is a joke, because you want to know how bad this is? There was one opening in the Big Ten outside of it, which was UCLA. It was UCLA. And you know what happened with UCLA? UCLA hired Bob Chesney, the guy that Penn State probably should have hired, who has Northeast and Pennsylvania ties. That would have, and some people are saying maybe is a younger version of Curt Cignetti, because Curt Cignetti came from James Madison. They didn't even look at him. They didn't even look at Bob Chesney, and so that didn't happen. And Michigan State, I like Jonathan Smith a lot. On Sunday, Michigan State fired Jonathan Smith after 2 seasons in East Lansing. It did not go well for Jonathan Smith. I love Jonathan Smith. I got to know him when he was at Oregon State. He's a good man. He's a good coach. It just did not work in East Lansing. That's a tough place to win if you don't have the right people, and and you're in a tough conference where it's really hard to win to begin with. So it didn't work out. Almost immediately after Jonathan Smith got fired, mind you, this was Sunday. Penn State's job opened in October. Michigan State already was ready to hire Pat Fitzgerald, the former Northwestern head coach, who's now been cleared of all the, hazing allegations that ultimately led to him losing his job at Northwestern, his alma mater. So you're looking at jobs within the league that have opened up since then. Or, I mean, UCLA was open up longer, but UCLA, that was a different circumstance. And UCLA was probably not going to get their best. They knew that they were at the top of the food chain. But for Penn State, such a proud university and a proud institution to be where we are in early December after they fired their coach 2 months ago, Brent Key's staying, Clark Lee's staying, Eli Drinkwitz is staying. All these other coaches are staying because they were able to, Jeff Brom announced that he was staying. Kalani Sitake, the BYU head coach, they thought they were pretty far down the road with that. So now what are you left with if you're Penn State? You are left with Brian Daboll, who just got fired by the New York Giants, which seems like that might be the direction, or Terry Smith, the interim head coach, who was named the interim head coach and is a longtime Penn State staffer. And if that's where this lands, that is a complete and utter failure. And Pat Kraft does not deserve to have the right to be the athletic director of Penn State athletics moving forward, because how could you be one of the best jobs in America, open up your job in October, and now you're left with your pants down? Every option that you had, it's almost like Penn State had a plan, but didn't have a backup plan, because they were like, oh, we can go to Kurt Signetti and tell him, hey, go to Penn State. You're a Pennsylvania guy. You can come in here and you can do everything. And he wanted to stay at Indiana. Matt Rule, you're a Penn State alum. Come here and win. Why didn't you talk to Matt Campbell, a guy who, honestly, I think would do really well there? He's done really well in a tough place to play, in a tough place to win in Iowa State. They haven't even talked to him. They wanted to go after Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman has a much better job at Notre Dame. Why would he go there? So they were just trying to go big, big, big. Bob Chesney would have been a great move for them too. They didn't talk to him, and now he was too far down the road. Now he's going to UCLA. Eli Drinkwitz, Clark Lee, all these guys, these big name coaches that you thought would potentially be available, they're saying no. So for Penn State, and then on top of it, Michigan State, a job in your league, effectively in your region, opens up literally on Sunday, and it was known within a couple of hours, but it was officially happened like in a day. Pat Fitzgerald, another guy you could have hired. What the hell is Penn State doing, and who the fuck are they going to hire? Like I said, to me, as of right now, it's Brian Daboll or it's Terry Smith, the interim head coach, is going to get elevated. Unless Kalen DeBoer magically becomes available, and the only way that happens is if Alabama misses the playoff and Alabama fans are really disgruntled. And I don't see that happening. Even if Alabama loses to Georgia, I don't see the playoff committee dropping one of their biggest brands out of the playoff just for playing another game and against the team they already beat. So I don't think Kalen DeBoer is going there. It'd be a good hire, but it's not happening. So Penn State really has some deep soul searching to do. And like I said, this is one of the worst head coaching searches I've ever seen in all my years of covering college football and college sports, but also just in general. To not have plans and contingency plans for coaches potentially staying, this weird calendar, all this other stuff, and you're not being able to weigh it. And now you're left at the point of, oh, we're going to get either a fired NFL coach, or we're going to have the guy who was our interim, who, granted, a lot of people in the building want to have, but that is a completely underwhelming hire considering what you had with James Franklin. People can say whatever they want about James Franklin and the big game James reputation. That guy's a good football coach, and he's already been hired by Virginia Tech. And I'm here to tell you right now, within a year or two, he might win the ACC and might go to the playoff. Virginia Tech has a lot of resources. They're investing in stuff. The ACC is not hard, and James Franklin is a damn good football coach. He just underachieved in a really hard place with really high standards in Penn State. So for Penn State to just completely whiff on this, it's inexcusable. And their administration has got to seriously look into how this search went about. And if they land on somebody that's just a completely underwhelming hire, I don't know how you can justify moving forward with Pat Kraft as your athletic director, given everything that has transpired. And then on top of it, like I said, another job in your league opens up literally on Sunday, and a candidate that you could have had went there. How does that happen? How does that happen? That makes no sense. So I mean, holy shit, man. This is wild, man. We'll see what Penn State decides to do. If we hear anything here, you'll hear more about it here on the Off the Mic Sports Network. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.